The war between Russia and Ukraine continues with all its violence in the first days of the new year. On New Year's Eve, while there were New Year's celebrations all over the world, there were continuous explosions in the occupied regions. The Donbas region welcomed the year 2023 with clashes. The clashes continue in Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Russian troops have been heading towards the Donbas region for the last few weeks, but the successful offensive of the Ukrainian army caused many Russian troops to withdraw from this region. Russia suffered heavy losses in Donbas, where the war intensified. The Ukrainian army's defensive offensive continues. The Ukrainian army is actively fighting against the invaders on the fronts in the eastern regions. Operations in this region have been stepped up, and the Ukrainian army, like the Russian army, is concentrating on Donbas. Because this region is critical for the occupation, the Russian army aims to penetrate into Ukraine through this region, but the Ukrainian army continues to disrupt all the plans of the Russian army. Another plan of the Russian army was foiled on New Year's Eve. Russia was planning a new operation hours before the New Year. This operation was to be carried out from the places determined in the Luhansk region. The places where the operation was to be carried out were the cities of Stelmakivka, Ploshchanka, and Belohorivka in the Luhansk region. Minutes before New Year's Eve, the Russian army was ready for action, but there was an unexpected development. The Ukrainian army knew about this operation. The fronts, bases, and operational command centers of Russian troops in these regions were identified. As Russia was about to launch an operation, the Ukrainian army mobilized. The command centers and bases of the Russian invaders were successfully hit. Russia failed to achieve what it wanted on New Year's Eve. At the same time, Russia attempted to attack from Soledar, Bakhmut and Ozaranivka. Ukrainian army units previously deployed in these areas responded to the attacks. The missile strikes of the Russian troops were successfully destroyed by the Ukrainian air defense systems. Although the Russian army sent air support planes to this region, it suffered great losses as a result of the Ukrainian army's counterattacks. Russian troops in the region were forced to retreat. The locals stated that Russian soldiers fled to the forested areas and that strong explosions were heard during their escape. Although no official statement has been made about these attacks, it is estimated that hundreds of Russian soldiers were shot, and many Russian bases and ammunition depots were destroyed. The most intense fighting in the last few weeks has been in the city of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region. Let's take a look at what is happening in Bakhmut. Bakhmut has been the scene of the fiercest fighting since Russia began its occupation of Ukraine. Bombs are exploding and gunfire is heard in the city at all hours of the day. Russian troops are losing ground to Ukrainian soldiers. Bakhmut has been in flames for the last few weeks. There have been many developments in Bakhmut over the past week. Russian troops made a big preparation and attacked Bakhmut. Advancing to the center of the city, the Russian troops were met with a counterattack they never imagined. This attack was carried out by the Azov Battalion, fighting alongside the Ukrainian armed forces. The Azov Battalion is made up of trained and experienced soldiers who have been in combat many times. As a result of the Azov Battalion's successful offensive, the majority of Russian troops were forced to retreat from the city of Bakhmut. Azov troops had inflicted heavy losses on Russian troops a few weeks ago. A few kilometers from the Bakhmut front line, thousands of Russian soldiers were destroyed. Many of them were mercenaries of the Wagner Group and Kadyrov. As of today, Russian troops have largely withdrawn from eastern Ukraine. Russia has been forced to withdraw many of its troops from the occupied territories. Donetsk and Luhansk regions are among the most important ones. But why is Russia withdrawing its troops from the occupied territories so quickly? There are many reasons for this. First, the successful offensives of the Ukrainian army are causing Russia to withdraw. The second reason is that Russia's shortage of troops and ammunition is increasing day by day. Another important reason is that Russia is under sanctions from Western and European countries. Russia has been subjected to the most sanctions in the history of the world. For this reason, it is experiencing economic problems and cannot replenish ammunition. Ukraine continues its successful operations against Russia, which has suffered many losses throughout the war. The defeats and withdrawal of Russian troops from many regions means that Ukrainian troops have a say in these regions. Ukraine now controls most of Donetsk and is making preparations for the future. Russian troops continue to withdraw from the region. Putin was aiming to seize Donetsk through Bakhmut. This region was very valuable for Putin, but Putin failed to realize his goals. Having failed to achieve what he wanted in Bakhmut, Putin focused on Marinka. This time, the goal was to enter Donetsk through Marinka. The invaders attacking this region could not break through the Ukrainian defense line. The invaders suffered great losses with the counter-defense attacks of the Ukrainian army. Russia had to withdraw its troops from this region, as it had troop and ammunition problems. Putin also failed in Marinka, another way to capture Donetsk Oblast. Another place where the war is as fierce as Donetsk is Luhansk. Serious explosions occurred in Luhansk in the first hours of 2023. Having failed in Donetsk, Russia tried its luck in Luhansk and failed to achieve the desired result here as well. Allegedly, after the explosions in this region, Russia transferred many of its soldiers to hospitals in the city. It is stated that 450 wounded Russian soldiers are under treatment in hospitals in the Luhansk region. No statement has yet been made about the condition of these wounded soldiers. Putin is at a loss what to do against the Ukrainian army. Russia, which has been thwarted in many attacks in the occupied territories, is trying different plans. One of these plans is to launch airstrikes on Ukrainian territory from the Caspian Sea. Russia targeted Ukraine with artillery and missile shells from near the Caspian Sea. According to preliminary estimates, 20 missiles were fired. But Russia was not successful in this attack either. Most of these missiles fell on Russian territory. Others were destroyed by Ukrainian air defense system. Russian leader Putin is trying to invade Ukraine from several regions. Almost all attacks by Russian troops are thwarted by the Ukrainian armed forces. Putin's efforts are constantly in vain. The situation of the Russian army and people is miserable. Despite all these setbacks, Putin has not given up on his decision to invade, jeopardizing the future of his country for his own career and interests. On the other hand, the Ukrainian President Zelensky and the Ukrainian armed forces are getting stronger every day. Zelensky is gaining the appreciation of the people and the army, thanks to his decisive stance against the occupation. He gives moral motivation to his people and army with his statements. The Ukrainian army is causing great damage to Russia. Russia has lost more than 50% of the territory it occupied from the beginning of the war until today. The Russian army has lost about 110,000 military personnel and tens of thousands of military equipment and systems. The Ukrainian army has now moved from a defensive to an offensive position. It seems that many more defeats await Russia in the new year. Do you think Putin will abandon his decision to invade in the new year? How do you assess Russia's failure in the offensive? What are your thoughts on the successes of the Ukrainian armed forces? Share your opinions with us. As Anka Daily News family, we continue to share with you all the hot developments in the Russia-Ukraine war. Our team of copywriters, researchers, graphic designers, video editors, and all our responsible staff work with the understanding of accurate and unbiased journalism. It is now very easy for you to support our team that produces accurate, unbiased, and quality content for you. You can support our work by clicking the super thank you button at the bottom of the video.